Hey guys, Pat here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. Well, a while back I installed this sink and cabinet, and I built the cabinet to fit the sink, and incidentally it's bigger than the old cabinet and sink. It's actually a kitchen sink. It's a real deep kitchen sink, but we wanted to retrofit this to make into a utility sink. Well, this video isn't about that, but this is the cause of this video. We're actually putting in a wall heater. We had an old baseboard heater at one point, and it was actually too long to accommodate the new cabinet. So I don't really like baseboard heaters anyway, so I went ahead and pulled it out, and now we have some bare wires that are just hanging out there loose, and I thought it'd be a good idea to maybe put a heater back in here and get rid of these wires. So the very first thing I did is I disconnected at the circuit breaker the power coming over to this 220 volt or 240 volt lead. And I also verified that these wires were dead with a multimeter. It's always a good idea to do double checks, because it only takes one time for you to get a hold of something like that, and it'll either wake you up or kill you. Here we go. We're going to be installing a cadet heater, wall heater, with a thermostat that's actually at the fan. What I have to do is I have to lay this out. The first thing I have to do after I take and turn the power off is I have to lay out on the wall where I want the wall heater to go. Well, there are minimum distances around things like towel racks, walls, and the floor. There's certain applications here that you really have to be careful. You know, you want to keep this away from flammables and all of that good fun stuff. And so I took all those measurements, and I'm in the clear right here. The second thing that I want to do is I want to locate where the studs are. So if you guys don't have one of these, it's a pretty handy little guy. Yeah, I have an electronic one too that senses the density of the wall and can find the studs that way. But this works really good too. It's compact. It's good to throw in your tool bag that you take with you or wherever you go. What I did here is I went along and located the fasteners in the wall. Well, what happens is you can go along here. You can see that little yellow magnet. It's actually just a long magnet, and you can see the bottom side of it. That's just actually just a magnet, and it swings back and forth. Well, when you find a sheetrock screw or a nail, what happens is that will highlight where that screw or nail is. So you can put a mark on here, and that will be where your stud is behind the sheetrock. I located this stud right here. I measured over 16 inches because that was standard construction at the time. A lot of new construction are 2 foot on center. But anyway, I measured over 16 inches. I went ahead and found the fasteners on that point. So I verified that that was 16 inches over where the stud was. And so after I located the stud, I made a couple of marks on here. I wanted the heater can to be installed 12 inches up off the floor. The minimum is 4.5 for this particular model of heater. But I want to go ahead and raise this up just a little bit to make it a little bit more ergonomically happy to go ahead and to operate the thermostat. After I laid this out, I just got a DeWalt 18 bolt jigsaw. I wanted to put the can on this side of the stud. So I went ahead and went on that side of the stud with the saw and just worked the saw in. I just go ahead and tilt it back a little bit. So I'll demonstrate. And it'll just beat a hole in the sheetrock. I just lightly go until I feel resistance right here. I want to also make sure that folks know that you want to be cognizant of where the wiring is. So when I open this up, I know I've got the power off to here. I know where my plumbing is. I know where my electrical is. And by opening this up, you can also get in there and inspect and make sure that you're not nicking any of this wire that's coming in here. If you do, you're going to have to put a box in. I'm going to have to put a little junction box right in here in order to accommodate this wire and to extend this wire into the can, the wall can. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get this cut out. I just went until I could feel resistance. That meant I was up against something solid, so I knew I was up against the stud. I could feel it. So now all I have to do is follow this up to my top of my line. I have this marked out 8 by 10 or 7 3/4 by 10, and so this will fit in there nice and tightly. Okay, that's going to work. Okay, now I have this mess down here, and I didn't get the junction box yet, or the extra 10 gauge wire that I'm going to need. For 240 volts, you're going to need 10-2 wire to extend this out. So this is going to have to go into a little J box. It's going to have an extension coming out of the J box and into the new wall can. So I'm going to go run to the store, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back from the store. I see you guys are still with me. So I needed to get a electrical box to make my extension or my junction, and then I also got ivory cover plate. Before I got you guys back in the picture, I went ahead and laid out where I wanted this box to go in order to capture this old wire coming in. So I wanted to shorten that wire up as much as I could, get this up off of the floor just a little bit, but have plenty of room for the wire to go into the box. And so what I'll have to do is I have to divide between that stud there, because there's a stud right here. I'll have to come out here with some extra wire out of the box and go into the stud here. So I'm going to have to go ahead and auger a 3/4 inch hole through the stud here so I can accommodate the new wire coming in. So we'll go ahead and get this hole cut out here. And I'll show you another way to cut these holes in too. I have this Leatherman here. I use it all the time when I'm doing maintenance or any kind of work. I don't know if there's a day that goes by that I don't use this little utility tool. But anyways, you can work a hole in, and it works pretty fast. Started on the right hand side of the line. It might be a good idea to go cut right down the line or cut on to the left of the line, just so you can have enough slack to get the box in. So I'll go back and open that hole up just a tiny bit more. Okay, I'm filling around in here. Of course, there's my stud right here on this side. I have nothing underneath here. This wire mysteriously just goes straight into the floor. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to cut a slot right here so the wire can tuck back in here. I can't bend the wire over enough to get it underneath the sheetrock. You don't want to bend this wire any more than you have to. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a relief cut in here, just big enough to where I can get the wire in. Okay, what I wanted to show you, when you have an installation like this, when you already have sheetrock, it's not new construction, and I'm not putting in a new wall, and I'm not pulling all the sheetrock out. You can buy these little junction boxes that have these little ears that come out, and what these do
when you insert the box into the wall, well, then you have the sheetrock behind that little flap or that ear. When you start to screw this in from the outside, okay, these ears right here go up against the sheetrock, and then these little tabs will flip up when you start operating that Phillips screw, and it will come up tight against the back side of the sheetrock, and it will hold the box in place. So in new construction, you're going to have the boxes that have the nails that are actually inside here, and you drive the nails into the sheetrock. So these are boxes that you use when you're actually upgrading or doing post-construction and you're doing modifications on wiring. So I'll show you how that works. First of all, I have to remove the wire nuts from our wire. And then on the bottom side, I want to push one of these knockouts in, the center one, and that gets me closer to my wire. Now my wire can penetrate right up into the box. I'll show you the knockout here. Oh, I just thought of something. I don't want to put that in quite yet. I want to run my new wire down into the wall, so I have my hand. I can be able to reach up and grab that new wire when it comes through that stud. So I'm going to back up here a little bit, and I'm going to go get a auger so I can drill a hole through the stud that's right here, through the stud that runs down through here, so the power from the heater can will run through that stud and then down into the box. Okay, the one thing I want to make sure that I don't do is cut this right in the side of into the box here. What I could do is I could follow this knockout right here and go right into the stud, but I think I'm gonna drill at an angle down below here and make it into this knockout right here. So the wire will go through this knockout hole right here, down into the wall. I'll have the hole that runs through the stud. There's a couple of different reasons I'm going to do it this way, because it's easier for me to drill it down at an angle, and that way that I can get down to this box, and my wire will stay just a little bit straighter as well. Okay, so we have our box in, and we have the old wire coming up through here. We have the wire nuts secured to the new section of wire that comes up to the top. Now I have the box and I have a knockout taken care of on the bottom, the inlet side of the wall can. I don't know if you guys have used these clamps or not, but this keeps the wire from chafing on the sharp edges of where the wire penetrates the bottom of the heater can. This actually clamps against the wire and holds the wire firm, so the wire doesn't slide around and chafe against any sharp object. So I'll go ahead and install this. Okay guys, now that I've installed the wire clamp, it's time to put on the wire bushing. And what the wire bushing does is it keeps the wire from chafing along the edge of the wire clamp. In order to mount the heater can to the wall, I just push back, tap in with a hammer, I'm going to put these screws in a little bit at an angle to start with, just enough to get a bite on the wood on that stud. Now I'm going to go ahead and pry a little bit as I'm pushing in. And that helps to draw the box in just a little bit closer to the wall. And I do the same to the top. Okay, now I secure the cable clamp. I want to make sure that the sheathing is actually within the cable clamp itself. You don't want the wires, you've cut the sheathing too short if you just have the wires in the cable clamp. Okay, what I like to do with the ground wire is I like to loop this around in a clockwise fashion and put that right on the screw. Now the reason for that is that this goes in a clockwise position and draws the wire in underneath the head of the screw. Well, the nice thing that looks like these guys have done is they've actually put a little bit of a rise around where this tab is, and that helps to hold the wire in place so it doesn't spit out from underneath the screw. That should draw that in nice and tight and have a good connection. Okay, got that good and tight. Now I have the heater unit. Now it doesn't really matter if I put white on black or white on red or black on black and black on red, just as long as I keep them separated, obviously, because they're both 120 volts. But I like to color coordinate, so I'm going to go ahead and put black with black. Get them lined up, make sure that both wires are underneath the wire nut. Kind of work the wires back and forth and make sure that there's a good connection. Okay, now I just tuck these in. I like to fold them away from the ground a little bit so they're curled around like that. Now this particular heater here has a couple little tabs here that the heater unit just rests in, and then it folds back, and then there's this little screw here that screws the heater unit to the can. And so that's secure. So make sure the thermostat's off. The squirrel cage, I just give that a spin just to make sure it's spinning freely and there's nothing holding it up. Sometimes there could be a piece of packing in there or whatever could get in there during installation. And I just secure the cover plate. Okay, we have the grill. So we have two screws and a thermostat handle or knob. I won't run that in tight yet until I get the bottom grill screw in. So the screw screws right to the heater can. This one here I can secure tight to the wall and finish off the top one. Now you don't have to run those in so tight that it starts puckering things up, but just solid against the wall. And this little knob goes on one way, flat side to the post coming out of the thermostat or rheostat, and likewise on the knob. So I just line that up. Press it on. Now I come over to the service panel and go to the bathroom. That's circuit 18 and 16. Flip it on. Okay, I don't smell anything burning, don't see any sparks. Just go ahead and turn it on. And it's blowing warm air. Success! Now these are going to stink a little bit because of the paint. So when the paint kind of gets burnt in or burnt off or burnt, settled out somehow, you don't have that bad smell. But anyway, leave it running for just a few minutes, see how it performs, and I'll come back later and I'll go ahead and do a little bit of sheetrock work and then finish out that trim, and everything will be just fine and dandy. Thanks for stopping by. Take care and God bless.